les trois présentations que nous allons avoir cet après-midi. Donc, nous allons avoir Anne Fannon de l'université de Waterloo. Ensuite, Robert Cummings de l'université de Mississippi. Et puis Marica Franchi, okay. qui nous présentera Open Badges for Open Virtual Mobility Skills. Donc, je laisse la parole à Anne.
Merci. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anne Fannon, and on behalf of my colleagues at the University of Waterloo, it's a pleasure to be here to tell you a little bit about the work that we're doing and to get your thoughts and perspectives on it. We've titled this presentation A Step Towards Open Recognition because I don't think we're quite there yet, but I'm here in part to have my thinking challenged. So with that, let's get started. So this is where you can find the University of Waterloo in Ontario, Canada. We're about an hour south of Toronto. And just a little bit of contextual information about our university. We have about 35,000 students studying in 6 faculties. We're very well known for engineering, math, and computer science. We have the largest engineering school in Canada and have been ranked in the top 50 in the world. We're also known for trying new things. So within Canada, we've been ranked the most innovative university in a national ranking for the last 28 years. Above all else, though, we are probably most known for our cooperative education program. So if you're not familiar with cooperative education, it's a model that was built on an educational model established at the University of Cincinnati in the early 1900s. And in co-op, students alternate between periods of work and periods of study. So 4 months of school, 4 months of work, 4 months of school, 4 months of work. And the students do that through their entire degree program. So by the time that they graduate, they can have up to 2 years of paid work experience. Last year, our students earned over $270 million Canadian, working for 7,000 employers in 60 countries in the world. So just to reinforce the model a little bit, because I understand it to be different than many models that exist here in France, students, while they are working, aren't placed with an employer. So they apply for and compete for jobs, and our employers compete for our students as well. And what this means is that by the time a student graduates, they can often work in multiple organizations and even in multiple industries. Another important distinction is that with the exception of some professional programs, almost every job is open to almost every student. So rather than working specifically in a position related to their academic discipline, this job search becomes much more about skills and competencies, understanding those skills and then being able to market them to an employer. So how do we assess the impact of this educational program? Well, oftentimes we look at very high-level outcomes, such as things like employment rate, how closely the students are working in a position related to the skills that they developed at our university. And our co-op students are doing quite well in this. You can see in the middle, 96% of our graduates indicate that they're working in a job that's related to the skills that they developed while they were with us at the University of Waterloo. But how do we actually know what those specific skills are? What data do we have about that skill development? So just to give you a little bit of context, because I think it's important for our discussion about recognition, we do have a few opportunities within the curriculum right now to better understand what those skills are. So at the end of every single work experience, our employers complete a student performance evaluation, and they assess the student on 16 different competencies, ranging from ability to learn, to response to supervision, to oral and written communication. And they also give the student an overall rating, ranging from unsatisfactory to outstanding. But at the end of the day, all of those evaluations show up on the student's transcript as credit or no credit. We also have a series of professional development courses that the students complete while they're working, and these courses focus on the soft skills, so communication, teamwork, problem solving, critical thinking, and the students complete very authentic assessments within those courses that indicate a certain level of competence with respect to those skills. But once again, those experiences show up on the transcript as credit or no credit. And then last but not least, there's lots of opportunities for self-assessment in this program as well. Every single time that a student goes for that next work experience, they're updating their resume, they're participating in interviews, and they have to be able to articulate the skills that they've developed in their prior experiences. And there are also more formal activities such as reflective assignments. So within the University of Waterloo, we wanted to provide a framework for our students to bring together those different experiences and to really help them understand the key skills that they're developing throughout their time with us. But we didn't just want to have a skills framework or a competency framework for today. We also wanted to help the students understand the very real factors that are going to influence the future of work. Factors like automation, artificial intelligence, globalization, shifting political and power landscapes, and how they can develop the skills to help them navigate that very volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous future. So that led us to create what we're calling our Future Ready Talent Framework. For those of you that care about methodology, this is how we put it together. So we looked at 19 existing competency frameworks, including some that are very important for post-secondary education in Canada. And we also dove really deep into the literature associated with the future of work to try and get an understanding of how skills are evolving and how we might speak about those skills with our students. And that led us to develop 12 high-level competencies with some behavioral statements associated with them. To test our thinking, we sent out a survey to a number of stakeholders, faculty, staff, and employers, and asked them to provide us with behavioral statements associated with those competencies. So what does good look like? What does good communication look like? What are the behaviors that someone who's highly proficient in collaboration would demonstrate in the workplace? And that gave us hundreds and hundreds of behavioral statements that we then were able to theme and sort of check our thinking against. We also wanted to understand whether or not we had the constructs right. So we then took those behavioral statements and we had 122 people sort them according to category. So when someone is an active listener, is that communication or is that collaboration? And then last but not least, we really wanted to test the utility of the tool and to look at a little bit of reliability, validity. And so we had 978 of our active employers complete the survey using the behavioral statements based on a recent student that they had hired. So all of that data came together, and here is our Future Ready Talent Framework. So we have defined Future Ready Talent as 4 main categories: the ability to expand and transfer your expertise, the ability to develop yourself, the ability to build relationships, and then to design and to deliver solutions. And very quickly, I'll just tell you a little bit about the categories. So in the future of work, we believe it will be critical. Everybody needs to be able to understand information and data literacy and also technological agility. So to be able to learn new technologies quickly, to advocate for the use of technologies, to work comfortably in tandem with technology. And then, of course, context-specific skills. So we will continue to need to know how to do things, and even if the shelf life of those skills is going to decrease, what we believe is that we'll need to develop that expertise and then to be able to transfer it to new contexts. So whether that's a new role within an organization or an entirely new career. Of course, the ability to develop oneself has always been critical, but in a world where we will continuously need to upskill and reskill, we think that these are very important competencies for our students to be developing while they're still in school. We talked about this a little bit this morning, this notion of self-assessment. Do you have an understanding of your strengths, of your areas for growth? And then are you able to use that self-assessment effectively to manage yourself in the workplace? So self-management refers to professionalism, to meeting deadlines, but also things like emotional intelligence and resilience and that ability to move oneself forward. Lifelong learning, of course, something we're hearing a lot about, and career development. So understanding what your strengths are and being able to leverage them to move yourself forward in your career. Building relationships, communication and collaboration. You can't really find a competency framework that doesn't include those two. But in our increasingly globalized world, we also believe that we need to really help our students understand the importance of intercultural effectiveness. And then last but not least, you still need to be able to actually do things. So critical thinking in a world where artificial intelligence can draw some rather spurious conclusions, and the ability to see across the system in a way where perhaps our AI is not yet that sophisticated. An innovation mindset that includes bringing curiosity to the workplace and thinking about how to do things in new ways, and then implementation. So what are we actually going to do with this Future Ready Talent Framework? So those 21,000 students that go off into the world of work on a regular basis at our institutions will all be introduced to this talent framework before they go out into the world of work. And the professional development courses that we teach will align with those specific talents so that students are introduced to the importance of these skills and have an opportunity to see the ways in which they will need to leverage them in the future. Our assessment, so those three areas that I highlighted earlier, from the student performance evaluation to the assessments in the PD courses and student self-assessment, will also align with our talent framework. We also envision a world where our employers can use our talent framework for job postings. So both to be able to screen applicants and to find the students that they want to work for their organizations, but also to be able to articulate the skills that the students are going to develop while they're with us. And so questions that we're asking right now really are, what is the role of badges, of micro-credentials, of certificates? My colleague, Norah McRae, is here tomorrow. She'll be sharing a little bit more about our thoughts of how cooperative education and its higher umbrella, work-integrated learning, l'alternance, l'apprentissage en milieu de travail, could be used to help students develop skills and understand those competencies. But part of the reason that we're here is to learn, and so I'm going to stop talking now and turn it over to you. Given that introduction, very interested to hear your thoughts on the role of open recognition for our Future Ready Talent Framework. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any question? Do we have time for one question in the audience? Une question dans la salle? Mr. President.
Thank you. It's great to see such an innovative program from a Canadian institution. My question is, do you see this as Waterloo only or going beyond Waterloo? What would be your, if somebody else wanted to use this kind of framework, what would your response be?
I can give you my response. I can look at my boss at the back of the room and see if she agrees with it. So we've certainly been talking about the framework extensively within Canada, and have been having some initial conversations about how it might be leveraged beyond our institution. One thing that comes to mind immediately for me is we're very actively involved in the Work Integrated Learning Association in Canada. And so could we leverage something like our Future Ready Talent Framework so that employers across the country are dealing with the same competencies and assessing students on performance at the 110 institutions that are part of that association? Mm-hmm. Norah? Sounds good. Great.
Merci, Anne.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we have now the pleasure to have Robert Cummings from Mississippi. Here you are. I'll just check if it's okay. Robert.
Thank you very much. My name is Bob Cummings, and I'm very happy to be here with you today. And as he said, I'm from the University of Mississippi in the United States. I want to say thank you to our hosts for inviting us, and also a special word of thanks to our colleagues up in the booth who are doing the rapid fire translation. You have saved the skin of this monolingual American already at the conference, so thank you for your work. I want to talk to you a little bit about today about my perspective from my institution in the United States and how digital badging is playing out for me in my perspective, in my context. I have done work in e-portfolios going on now for almost 20 years. I participated in 2 rounds of the International Coalition for Electronic Portfolio Research in the United States. I come to it from, my PhD is in English, and so I come to it from a composition perspective, and very much a believer in reflection and the capacity for reflection and propelling people into context of lifelong learning, and also improving our ability to do that in higher education. I work also with open educational resources, so I run a Z-degree program for the state of Mississippi and help put open educational resources into institutions of higher education in my state. This is a Hewlett-funded grant that is getting ready to sunset, I think, at the end of this year. But we have had dramatic success in replacing expensive textbooks. We've replaced almost $7 million worth of textbooks for our students, which is, you may know, Mississippi is the poorest state in the United States, and so that has greatly improved access for our students in higher education. Also, I'm passionate about teaching with Wikipedia. I have been working in that context for more than 18 years and have worked with an organization known as the Wiki Education Foundation. And I'm going to speak a little more about that near the end of the presentation. So given all that context, I was super excited to explore this conference and open recognition frameworks. So unfortunately, though, I've got some text-heavy slides, so I apologize for that. This is probably going to be one of the few images, so bask in it now. This is I would like to say that I'm employing the Legos that were used earlier, but talk about 2 main concepts, and they're sort of bookends, I think. One is the closed practices of the American capitalist formalist systems of recognition in the United States, as I find them, and I invite anyone to share their perspective as well. I don't pretend to speak for the entire nation. But then also, I want to talk a little bit about open practices, and specifically about how the practice and the development of the culture behind Wikipedia could inform open recognition frameworks. Okay, so here we go. What are the current practices of American capitalist formalist systems of recognition? As the last presentation was indicated from Canada, we in the United States are also seeing a lot of energy in conversations between our industry and higher education. And higher education meaning nonprofit traditional institutions, but also for-profit institutions, about creating better school-to-work pathways. So what I take generally as our industry perspective is that our students are not prepared with the right skills for entry-level positions. I hear over and over again from employers that they don't want to necessarily not have incoming candidates without college credentialing, but when they get them, there's a lot of retraining that's going on. And again, this is what I hear from our employers. This is not my opinion. They also will tell us that our students commonly overestimate their skills and abilities before they get into the marketplace. So they will tell employers that they're really good at, let's say, team building, but as it turns out, there's challenges with what the common definition for that might be. And of course, anyone in higher education has heard often from industry that we're too slow and inflexible, and that we don't respond quickly enough for their needs. And so often the way that I've seen this play out is that large corporations in the United States will respond in sort of 3 different ways to this problem. They will try to duplicate what we do in higher education by replicating it themselves if they have enough scale to do that. Amazon Academy is a good example of an effort to that. They will try to extend what we do in higher education, which is appropriate and natural, right? So certificates and continuing ed and corporate training are examples of how the employers may try to extend what we do. But then also, coding academies are a great example of trying to bypass higher education entirely. So just finding a set of desired skills that are needed immediately and building up programs to develop those pinpointed skills are another response to how industry sees higher education in the United States, I think. So that's created a lot of pressure to change, and so I think there's a great willingness to change within U.S. higher education. And a lot of that willingness is focused on ways to improve the school-to-work pathways. And before I learned about our colleagues at Waterloo, I was going to hold out Northeastern as being a good example of having durable partnerships with the workplace and having a lot of co-curricular examples of using badges as to ways to fill the upskilling and reskilling marketplace. The thing I would note, though, as an aside, much of this conversation is defined around the concept of a deficit. So it is about higher education failing to deliver what it needs to deliver and using digital badging as a way to extend and adapt what our graduates know or need to know. But digital doesn't always mean open, and often it doesn't. And it's at odds with, I find it to be, a lot of the digital badging practices to be at odds with the concept of open movements as I understand it in the open culture. I like to think about what David Wiley says from Open Educational Resources. And he talks about how classroom knowledge is essentially non-rivalrous knowledge. I mean, if I'm teaching a class in composition, there's just nothing in that class I wouldn't happily share with another colleague down the hall. So there's really no reason to have restrictive copyright licenses about the content that's in our classrooms, except for very rare cases where there's research development around concepts that may have trademark applications or they may have patent applications. That's extremely rare. Generally, we're talking about there's a really good and incentive to share within higher education. But unfortunately, what I find that the other impulses within industry solutions, there is an incentive to compete. So as we build up the frameworks for sharing, as soon as value is found in the business context, then immediately there's an impulse to take that value and to hoard it and to keep it as possibly a competitive advantage. So if I could give us on the fly a subtitle, it would be the twin impulses of cooperation and competition. And it's not just on the demand side, it's on the supply side. I think we in higher education are guilty of indulging in competition when we should be cooperating, just as often as we accuse folks on the other side of doing the same. So again, it's a context of rivalry, and if they can get information about candidates' skills, they tend to want to keep that to themselves. A good example of this is the Amazon Web Services is moving to a model now where they're not going to be asking candidates for resumes, they're not going to be asking candidates for cover letters, they're going to be asking them to take a survey. Now they have skill mapped every position within the organization. And so as the job applicant, you complete the survey, thank you very much, we've got your data. Now we're just going to put that data into our database. There's a position that opens up, we'll get back to you. Now they have that kind of scale, right? So what they're doing is balkanizing all the information that's out there about the knowledge, skills, and abilities of the incoming people, and essentially the knowledge, skills, and abilities that we're helping to produce in higher education. Okay, so that's the closed practices. The question I wanted to ask about open recognition frameworks is how can we better apply the culture of openness, and I think specifically about the development of Wikipedia. So, okay, Wikipedia, it's never going to work. All right, Wikipedia will not work because you can't trust strangers on the internet to provide knowledge. Because either they don't know what they're talking about, or they're going to talk about things that you can't, that aren't relevant. So there won't be any accuracy, there won't be any relevance. Wikipedia will not work because vandals will take it down. So as soon as you put something on value on the internet, someone is going to destroy it. Wikipedia will not work because of IP problems. So you'll have people that are going to run amok of copyright, and they're going to end up being sued, and they'll take the site down. Wikipedia will not work because no one will work for free. There's no such thing as value in something that's not paid. Wikipedia is not going to work because even if all these people do come together, someone will have to organize them. And no one's going to organize others for free because their passion is about the subject that they want to share. It's not about the organization. There's no way to resolve conflicts, and it'll never have enough critical mass. So many interesting presentations I've seen in the last day and a half. I think about new systems and how do you attract enough content and enough participants to drive value to the badging systems that you're developing. Wikis face the same thing. There's thousands of PB wikis out there on the web, maybe tens of thousands, that have about 3 pages worth of content. So, of course, I'm being facetious. Obviously, Wikipedia works. It overcame all of those things. But then the other argument that we had was that there's no need for Wikipedia because we already have Britannica. And Britannica works just fine, thank you very much. And even better yet, you have a lot of very intelligent and knowledgeable experts composing Britannica. And who needs Wikipedia? Because you can go to the library and check out Britannica for free. So we'll never need something like a Wikipedia. And there's, a lack of free knowledge system no one's going to take the time to look up a fact they can't trust even if you did develop Wikipedia, right? So the argument that I like to think about is Yochai Benkler's argument that basically he says, proximity rules all. So if we want to develop a system for open recognition frameworks where we distribute the task of recognition, I think Wikipedia serves as a beautiful example of the potential. If I want to look up Don and I go Google him, what I need to find is not only his resume, but also his endorsements. It needs to be there together. It needs to be the first step after I Google him. So why does Wikipedia work? In my opinion, one of the reasons it works is I use the example of a stranger. And if you have knowledge about in your neighborhood, how do you get to the gas station or how do you get to the McDonald's, and you know it, and a stranger comes up to you, you can't resist sharing that piece of information. You have the knowledge, it costs you nothing to share it, and it's going to improve someone else's life. If you can reduce all of the distance in those transactions, if the human is in front of you, you have the knowledge, it costs you nothing to share it, then it's going to really take off. Well, what if instead of asking, where can I find a gas station, you ask, where can I find someone that can mow my lawn, or someone that has to paint, or someone that knows how to remove my tumor? All of these questions are the types of questions that we're really asking in open recognition frameworks around knowledge, skills, and abilities. So again, a little text heavy here, I apologize. But if we can build frameworks for recognition that solve this problem by reducing the distance between the person who has the information to share the passion of the knowledge and the person who needs the recognition, I think the project can succeed. I really bet on its capacity, and I go back to why I was told 18 years ago that Wikipedia will never succeed, and of course why it does succeed. It is my belief that it's a fundamental part of our human nature that we want to share knowledge, that we have it, and if we can do so in such a way that improves the condition of others. So what would that look like? Well, it needs to be free. It needs to be in a transparent format. It should build a community as we do this. So I should be recognized by others for my recognition of others. I need proximity. It needs to be easy to use. I need to be united around a common passion. If we could bring folks together from whatever that topic is, I was very excited to see the presentation, the keynote yesterday at 5:30 about the use of Wikipedia and the idea maps that are being drawn out. I think it provides a great model for how you can bring people together around common topics. And of course, we'll have to have governance. We'll have to have rules for how you resolve conflicts. So again, what does this rhetorical triangle look like? Well, Wikipedia succeeds because editors, that is people who want to edit Wikipedia, and readers unite around a common subject. I'm going to run out of time here, but this is to borrow Serge's graphic because I was taken for just how similar it could be, how the individual and also the meso level and the micro level could duplicate really what happens around passions for doing, which the individual has, passions for the topic, which the meso level has, and then the macro level being the passion for assembling and bringing them all together. So looking at the open recognition framework discussion, it talks about circles and it talks about hubs. What I wanted to wrap up on and propose is that the work that we do with education with Wikipedia, we have tens of thousands of students, hundreds, thousands of faculty, and hundreds of institutions that right now are teaching with Wikipedia. The basic model, of course, is that in any class you're developing some sense of expertise. The students take the expertise that they're developing and they look and examine what's on Wikipedia, and then they share that expertise to improve Wikipedia. It's a great model because it's a win for everybody. Why couldn't we be putting open recognition into this model? Because we're already uniting people who are passionate about a topic with people who are experts in a topic and a system that embodies open values. It would seem to me a natural point that we could possibly extend it for the benefit of open recognition frameworks. And we would duplicate that system of the stranger asking for directions and receiving that knowledge from the people that have it. Happy to take questions from anybody in the audience. Thank you very much.
Thank you for this really captivating presentation.
Quick question, an idea popped into my head. I come from ePortfolios myself. To what extent is students' work on Wikipedia essentially a group ePortfolio? And I'm wondering how much that could be folded into what you're talking about.
Thank you for that question. I think that the main challenge with working with Wikipedia is the encyclopedic format. So it's just that one of the first things that we had to deal with classroom projects going on to Wikipedia was they had to transform into an examination of the subject and rather than examination of the individual learning journey. So the self-reflection and an analysis portion of it generally is not valuable to Wikipedia. You can't take a term paper with your quote-unquote original insights about the coffee bean and then put it on the coffee bean page on Wikipedia. It has to be something in the context of what an encyclopedia needs. That, I think, is the main challenge.
Another question? Une autre question? Public? Okay, then we thank Robert for coming from so far. Thank you very much. And we welcome Marica. Ici. Ah oui. Here. Comme ça. Okay.
Good morning, I'm Marica Franchi, I'm from Cineca. I'm a member of the digital education team in Cineca, and in particular I'm involved in the development of the digital credential platform Bester. Today, I'm focusing on the use of open badges in the European project Open Virtual Mobility. The partnership is composed of 9 European partner organizations from higher education, and Cineca is involved in the project for the issuing of digital credential by Bester platform. The Erasmus Plus project, Open Virtual Mobility, is a strategic partnership for innovation and the enhancement of good practice. The project aimed at promoting, opening, and scaling up virtual mobility in higher education in Europe through achievement, assessment, and recognition of virtual mobility skills of teachers and students, in line with the Bologna process and open educational principles. The key objectives of the project are enhance and uptake of open virtual mobility by improving virtual mobility skills of educators and students. Providing a collaborative European virtual mobility learning hub for achievement, assessment, and recognition of virtual mobility skills, and students collaborate at the design and the implementation of the virtual mobility hub. And the project develops a set of innovative tools, methods, and guidelines to enhance learning and collaboration in context of virtual mobility. The Virtual Mobility Learning Hub, it is an innovative, multilingual, ICT-based environment, unique in Europe. It promotes collaborative learning, social networking applied to learning, with open educational resources as the main content. The platform acts as a central hub for learning about virtual mobility and developing virtual mobility skills in higher education. The hub is based on Moodle system and provides a set of MOOCs and open educational resources, including guidelines, offers a self-assessment and e-assessment tools used to assess open web skills, issue open digital credential, and a competency directory that is a tool. It is a semantic representation machine. It is a machine-readable representation of the competency framework developed in the project, and a matching tool used to find cooperation partners for virtual mobility activities. It includes an interface for learning group formation and matching for collaboration of groups. As I said before, one of the focus of the project is taking advantage of open badging in order to recognize open virtual mobility skills of teachers and students, as well as gamification elements for the enhancement of participation in MOOCs or creation of virtual mobility open educational resources, and for the enhancement of motivation to engage in virtual mobility in higher education. Open badges represent 8 competencies at 3 different levels. These skills and levels have been identified through the construction of a dedicated competency framework, extracting from expert consultations the set of competencies considered useful for virtual mobility, both from a student and a teacher point of view. all the badges in the project are available. You can see all the badges in the dedicated badge page in the dedicated project investor. I go quickly here, the set of 8 competencies area. Each competencies area has a description. And each competence area has a set of skills and sub-skills in order to describe the competency area. In the dedicated web site of the project, you can find all the information about the competency framework. The set of digital credentials are issued by participating in the MOOCs. The figure shows a narrative choice architecture of the MOOC. The learner can choose the sub-MOOC of a digital of a competence area, participate in the pre-assessment. That is offered by a self-assessment tool to assess the current level of a skill in a given area, of skills in a given area. Receive a recommendation for one of the MOOC levels, foundation, intermediate, advanced, and at the end of learning activities, it take the assessment activity, and if he complete successfully the assessment activity, he receive automatically the open badge. Let's have a look at the hub. After login in the dashboard, the users see all the available mini MOOCs, the web page of the course, of each course. You can find the learning objective, the open educational resources, and the assessment activities. And in the right side, the user can view which open badge can earn by completing the course. If the student complete the course successfully, gain the badge, and the visualization of the badge is changed from grayed out to bright. No? And let's have a look at a piece of the technical process. We set up an integration between the badge platform, Bester, and the learning platform, Moodle, in order to issue automatically badges when students complete a course, and in order to show badges in each Moodle course, and show also gained badges for each user. The Bester includes a learning record store here. I don't know if in the center of the slide, the learning record store, where authorized external system can write learning statements according to the XAPI standard. Cineca customized and released a module of Moodle in the left side of the slide. You can see this. And this Moodle plugin is called XAPI Log Store plugin. And it catches the plugin is able to catch the event generated by Moodle system. and can, in particular, the completed event, and translate this event into the language of XAPI standard, send when the student completes the course, the XAPI statement to the Learning Record Store, and best read the statement in the Learning Record Store and can issue the badge automatically to the learner. In order to visualize the gained badge or the published badge in the Moodle platform, in the hub, Bester gives access to API that can be called to get badge information. Here, a screenshot of one of the badges. In the description area, the description part includes the learning objective of the mini-MOOC. The skills include the competencies and skills of the competency framework. And soon it will be possible navigate this link and go to the competency directory, the tool that allow browse and search among competencies. And also browse in ESCO skills. The visual of the in the open badge, we are migrating Bester to Badger Engine. So now we are able to include in the alignment metadata field a set of URI, in that case, the URI of the competencies of the competency framework, and embed this element in the open badge. This is the competency directory, the home page of the competency directory tool. It allows browse and search among competency framework. It rates skills of the selected competencies. Each competence and skills is reachable by a URI, the square in the left side, and we use this URI to write the metadata alignment field in the open badges. Soon will be possible browsing among competencies and skills of the competency framework by the user interface, and also reach ESCO terms, because the competency directory includes the mapping to ESCO dictionary. Let's have a look at the mapping of OpenVM competencies to ESCO taxonomy. ESCO is an initiative. It is an initiative supported by European Commission. It is a European multilingual classification of skills, competencies, qualifications, and occupations. The aim of ESCO is to support job mobility across Europe by offering a common language. What is a mapping? A mapping refers to the process of creating correspondences between the concept of two classifications, defining relationship between them. The possible relationships used for a mapping are same as, broader, or narrower, or related to. We implemented a mapping in OpenVM project because for interoperability reason, and because it is interesting to see how much the currently skills in ESCO cover OpenVM skills. The methodology applied is based in a collaborative mapping process. Our goal is to define the value of each OpenVM competence area with an exhaustive list of existing ESCO terms, taking into account that OpenVM and ESCO use different jargon to describe the competencies. The methodology that we used is, in the first step, some partners create several mappings, flat, without relation, or with relation, with the main relation of a thesaurus. In the second step, we merged these several mapping, and for each competency area, we add a set of ESCO terms. The third step is the collaborative mapping. Each partner could, one if the term is part of the competency area, zero if not. Each party could add a comment for each choice, and then we calculate inter-rate reliability. It is a score of how much consensus exists in the rating given by various raters. Currently, we are in these two steps. We are coding the competencies area, and we calculate the score. Then we will insert new terms based on comments of the previous steps, and we'll define relations. Thank you for your attention.
Is there a question? Est-ce qu'il y a une question dans l'audience pour Marica? Don? The question man?
My question is a nerdy technical question, and that is, you were talking about the integration between Bester and Moodle, and you talked about LRS. Why did you use LRS as an intermediary? Why not just make a direct integration to Moodle? Does LRS bring extra things that you were looking for?
Because first, Bester allows the access to the system to several systems, not only to Moodle. We have several platforms that access to this learning record store. We have e-assessment platform, we have other Moodle platform, so it is possible to to catch different, yes.
Thank you to all our presenters coming from Canada, Mississippi, USA, and Italy. Merci.